So here's the thing, no one ever really teaches you how to let go. We're taught how to chase, how to plan, how to strive. We're taught how to hold on for dear life. But letting go, surrendering, trusting, that's not in the curriculum. That's not part of the success seminar. Because somewhere along the line, the world convinced us that letting go looks like failure. That's the illusion. And Alan Watts, he walked right through that illusion and invited us to come along. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next. And you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Not with force or pressure, or some hard-edged philosophy, but with something quieter, something infinitely more radical. Permission. Permission to stop, not to give up, but to finally step aside and allow life to breathe through you again. Because here's what we don't like to admit. Most of us are so busy trying to do life right that we've forgotten how to be alive. We're gripping the wheel so tightly, so afraid of crashing, that we don't realize the road is already beneath us. The engine is running, and all we have to do is let go of the brakes. Watts puts it so simply that it's almost maddening. The harder you try to control the world, the more it pushes back. And yet, the more you trust the flow, the more the world seems to open up in front of you like a path that was always there, just waiting for you to stop fighting it. But we fight. Oh, do we fight? We fight to be seen, to be understood, to be loved. We fight for results, for recognition, for security. And what does that fight get us? Exhaustion, anxiety, a life that feels like a treadmill set to the wrong speed, where we're constantly sprinting but going absolutely nowhere. And then Watts strolls in with that calm voice of his and basically says, you don't need to push so hard. In fact, it's the pushing that's keeping you stuck. Watts flips that idea on its head. He says true power isn't found in force, it's found in presence, in stillness, in the deep, quiet, knowing that the same intelligence that spins galaxies also beats your heart, that the same universe that grows trees and moves tides also knows exactly what it's doing with you. And maybe, just maybe, it doesn't need your constant interference. That doesn't mean you stop taking action. That doesn't mean you don't dream or build or strive. But it means you stop doing it from a place of fear. It means you stop mistaking anxiety for ambition. It means you stop tying your worth to your output, your timeline, your ability to control the uncontrollable. Because here's the hardest truth of all. You never had control. Not really. You just had effort. And effort without awareness? That's just resistance in a prettier outfit. That's what Watts means when he says we block our own lives by holding on. Not because wanting is bad, not because action is wrong, but because we get so attached to how and when that we forget the why, and more importantly, we forget the who. Who is the one that's afraid? Who is trying to force the outcome? Who is terrified of waiting? It's the ego. And you always have been. You were worthy before you started the project, before the relationship, before the mistake, before the promotion, before the heartbreak, before the striving. You were worthy when you took your first breath. You'll be worthy on your last. The universe never asked you to prove yourself. It asked you to remember yourself, to come back, back to this moment, back to your body, back to your breath, back to the gentle rhythm underneath all the chaos, the one that never left you, even when you forgot how to listen. That's the great letting go, not a giving up, but a coming home. So, what does that look like in real life? It looks like breathing before reacting. It looks like not forcing the conversation. It looks like not needing to have all the answers right now. It looks like choosing rest without guilt. It looks like trusting that if something slips away, it wasn't meant to be held. It looks like dancing with life, not dragging it behind you. Because when you stop clenching so hard, your hands are finally open to receive, not to take, not to demand, but to receive. And what you receive may not be what you expected. It might be better, or quieter, or deeper, or slower. Not an instruction manual, not a spiritual checklist, just a soft reminder to dance, to trust the music, even when you don't know the next step, to flow, even when the current shifts, to loosen your grip, even when everything inside you screams to hold tighter. Because life is happening for you, to you. It's not a puzzle to be solved. It's a wave to be ridden. And the second you stop resisting, it carries you right where you need to be. Maybe that's now. Maybe that's here. And maybe just maybe you're ready. So if this message stirred something inside you, don't ignore it. Like this video. If it cracked open even a sliver of truth for you, share it with someone you love, who's holding on a little too tightly, and tell us in the comments what are you ready to let go of. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one, and of course, hit subscribe, because there's more to come. More remembering, more surrender, more trust, more truth. And the best part? You don't have to chase any of it. You just have to let it in. So let's keep going. Because if you're still here, still listening, still feeling this, you're not just curious. You're ready. Ready to finally put something down. Not everything, not yet, but something. Some invisible burden you've been carrying for way too long. A story, a pattern, belief that says, if I don't grip harder, it'll all fall apart. That belief is seductive. It wraps itself around your spine and whispers things like, keep going, and don't stop now, and you haven't earned peace yet, and for most of your life, you've listened. Because letting go, that's the scariest thing you can do when you've built your identity around effort, around striving, around needing to prove something. But what hands you a mirror and quietly says, what are you really gripping? It's security, control, certainty, the outcome, the image, the narrative that says, I'll be okay when. He invites you to look directly at that thing, whatever it is, and ask yourself, is it really holding me together, or is it holding me back? And that's when the shift begins. Not instantly, not dramatically, just subtly. Because this isn't about some grand revelation that flips your entire life upside down overnight. This is about peeling back the smallest layer of resistance, feeling the breath come easier, feeling your jaw unclench, feeling the moment soften around you. That's the entrance to the deeper work, and the deeper trust. You realize, maybe for the first time, that life has always been trying to support you. You just weren't letting it. Because you were convinced you had to be the architect of every detail. That if you didn't push, nothing would move. That if you didn't force it, you'd be forgotten, left behind, unchosen. And you know where that belief leads? To burnout, to bitterness, to a quiet, creeping numbness that makes everything feel like it's happening in grayscale. But when you surrender, really surrender, you start to see color again. The world comes back to life. Not because it changed, but because you finally stopped gripping your expectations so tightly that you couldn't feel anything. That's what Watts meant when he said you block your life by holding on. It's not that life stops showing up. It's that you can't receive it when your hands and your heart are already full. And isn't that the tragedy? That most of us are walking around desperate for a kind of love, peace, clarity, purpose, that we've unknowingly built walls against. And those walls, they look like effort. They look like control. They look like grinding and optimizing and perfecting every aspect of your life, until there's no room left for anything unexpected or miraculous. But the miraculous doesn't arrive on a schedule. It comes in the in-between moments. In the spaces where you don't have the answer, where you're not gripping the steering wheel, where you're just open. And here's the deeper secret. Surrender isn't passive. It's the most active choice you can make. It's choosing to trust in the face of uncertainty. It's choosing to breathe instead of control. It's choosing to let life show you what's next instead of bulldozing your way toward a goal that might not even be meant for you anymore. And yes, it's vulnerable. It's tender, but it's also where the power is. Because when you live in alignment, when you drop into the natural rhythm of life, instead of resisting it, things begin to move. Doors open without you having to kick them down. The right people arrive without a desperate chase. The opportunities that align with your actual soul or your ego start making themselves known. And it all starts with one courageous act. Letting go of the belief that you need to suffer to deserve. Letting go of the story that says you have to prove you're good enough, smart enough, attractive enough, spiritual enough, successful enough to be loved, held, safe. Because here's the truth, you already are. You were always worthy. You just forgot. You were taught otherwise by a world that thrives on your insecurity. And Watts? He's not trying to teach you anything new. He's trying to remind you of what you already know. The same way trees know when to shed their leaves. The same way the tide knows when to rise. The same way your body knows how to heal, without your permission. You are already plugged into the intelligence of the universe. The problem isn't that life is hiding from you. It's that you've been taught to demand, instead of receive. To chase, instead of allow. To overthink, instead of trust. But that can change. And it doesn't take a retreat or a guru or a perfect morning routine. It just takes a moment. One clear, conscious, honest moment where you sit down and ask yourself, what would happen if I stopped fighting this? What would happen if I trusted that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be, even if it doesn't look like the plan? What would happen if I released the timeline, the pressure, the illusion? Would I fall? Or would I finally float? This is the moment where your soul leans forward, because it recognizes the truth. You're not being asked to give up. You're being asked to give in, to the current that's been trying to carry you all along, to the love that never left, to the life that's still unfolding beautifully, mysteriously, perfectly in ways your mind could never have predicted. Watts didn't say surrender would be easy. He just said it's the way home, the way back, to who you were before the striving, before the story, before the world taught you how to doubt your own rhythm. So maybe you're ready now, not because everything's figured out, but because you're tired of fighting it all, and because, deep down, you know, there's another way. Not harder, not faster, just truer. And the truth is, you don't have to earn what's already yours. You just have to be willing to receive it. So if any part of this conversation stirred something in you, if even for one breath, you felt the weight begin to lift, honor that. Because it means you're waking up. Not to some new ideology or belief system, but to yourself. The part of you that already knows how to flow, how to trust, how to be. So let's not rush to the end just yet. Because if you've made it this far, something in you is still unraveling. And that's sacred. That's not just a coincidence or a nice little emotional moment, that's a shift. A moment of recognition. A little flicker of truth rising to the surface after years, maybe decades, of being buried under tension and timelines. The truth? You never had to try so hard. No one told you that, of course. Because this world runs on effort, on outcomes, on measurable progress and performance metrics, on hustle. Even spirituality has been turned into a productivity contest. Heal faster, meditate longer, manifest quicker. Like peace is something you can earn if you just grind your soul hard enough. But Alan Watts would look you in the eye and say, that's not it. That's not the way. Because the more you treat life like something to conquer, the more it resists. And the more you treat it like a dance fluid, open, expressive, the more it reveals itself to you. Not as something outside you, but as something you've always been a part of. That's what surrender actually means. Not quitting, not giving up, but releasing the illusion that you are separate from the very thing you're trying to reach. You don't have to chase alignment when you are alignment. You don't have to manufacture abundance when you are abundance. You don't have to get back to yourself. You just have to stop running away. That's the real work. Not adding more, not achieving more, but subtracting everything that was never really yours in the first place. The doubt, the fear, the pressure, the identity built around being the one who always holds it all together. Watts so right through that performance. He saw the way we tie our self-worth to output, the way we grit our teeth and force smiles through pain, convinced that if we just survive this next season, then we'll be allowed to rest, then we'll be worthy, then we can exhale. But that, then, never comes. Because there is no finish line where the universe hands you a medal and says, congratulations, you've proven yourself. You may now experience joy. No, the joy is now. It's always now. Even if your life feels like a mess, even if your heart is heavy, even if you don't know what happens next, especially then. Because that's when you're the most open. That's when the old stories are breaking down. That's when the walls start to crack, and the light starts to leak through. But you have to stop filling those cracks with more effort. Let them stay open. Let life move through them. That's surrender. It's soft. It's subtle. But make no mistake, it's powerful. Because when you stop trying to dominate life, and start letting it collaborate with you, things begin to shift. You move from resistance to rhythm, from surviving to receiving. And that kind of shift, it changes everything without having to change anything at all. You might still go to the same job, still pay the same bills, still face the same challenges, but suddenly, you're not gripping them with desperation. You're meeting them with presence, with breath, with the quiet, unshakable knowledge that you are not alone in this, that you're not being punished, that you're not behind, that life isn't a test you're failing. It's a relationship, a dance. And the moment you stop trying to lead all the time, everything softens. You start hearing your own intuition again. You start seeing beauty in the mundane. You start noticing that maybe, just maybe, the thing you've been waiting for has been circling you this whole time, waiting for an opening that only surrender can create. But let's be honest, letting go is terrifying. Because control gives us the illusion of safety. It gives our minds something to cling to, a plan, a checklist, a story that says, if I just do this, then that will happen. But Watts reminds us, life doesn't work like that. Not really. You can't logic your way into peace. You can't strategize your way into grace. Those things arrive when you stop clinging to the illusion that you ever had control in the first place. Letting go isn't reckless. It's trust in action. It's trusting that the same force that turns seeds into forests and rain into rivers knows what it's doing with you, even when you don't, especially when you don't. So let me ask you something and be honest. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to hold it all together? What would happen if you stopped treating every uncertainty like a threat? What would open up if you gave yourself permission to rest, even while things are unresolved? Because that's the real edge of surrender, not when things are easy, but when they're uncertain, when nothing's guaranteed, when the outcome is foggy. That's when letting go becomes a spiritual initiation. Can you be at peace without a guarantee? Can you trust the process even when the destination is unclear? Can you choose softness when everything in you wants to tense? That's the path Watts was pointing us toward. Not a religion, not a doctrine, just a shift. A shift from doing to being, from forcing to flowing, from fear to trust. And here's the wild part. When you stop trying to force everything into place, the right pieces move on their own. Because life is intelligent. It's not chaotic or cruel or random. It's responsive. And when your inner state changes, when you move from grip to grace the world around, you starts to reflect that back. Not immediately, not always in the way you expect, but always with meaning, always with love, even in the delays, even in the detours, even in the doors that close. So, if this stirred something in you, if it cracked something open, if it softened your heart in a way you didn't expect, stay with it. Let it move. Let it integrate. And if it meant something to you, let us know. Like the video. If it landed, share it with someone who needs this reminder more than they need advice. Drop a comment below what's one thing you're ready to stop gripping. And subscribe. Not just for more content, but because you're not alone in this. We're all learning how to let go together. One breath, one moment, one surrender at a time.